Hey guys, Connor here at Etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness for our 2012 Kia Soul. The Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness offers a complete plug-and-play installation for our Kia Soul. As you can see here, it has a nice and clean finish when attached to the bottom of the receiver tube if we use our optional brackets. Otherwise, we would just have it hanging from the safety chain loops. Now, as mentioned, this is a plug-and-play install, and furthermore, it is a non-powered unit, which means we don't have to run that pesky power wire up to the vehicle's battery, which saves a lot on our install time. The Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness is going to provide us with our basics functions for the smaller size trailers. It's going to have the running light circuit, the left and right stop and turn signal circuit, as well as the right side stop and turn signal circuits. Now, we can also use these to power lights on a cargo carrier if we want to free up some space inside the vehicle. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how easy this is to install. To start our installation today, we're going to want to come to the front of the vehicle here. Once we have the hood open, the first step is to disconnect the negative battery cable from the battery. In order to do this, you're going to need a 10mm socket and ratchet. So what we're going to do is just going to come in here. So once we get the nut for the battery cable loose, we can go ahead and just jiggle it off here. And let's tuck this aside so it doesn't come back into contact with the battery. Now we're going to need to remove our taillight assemblies on both sides of the vehicle. I'm going to start here on the driver's side, and if you see here, we have 3 Phillips head screws that are holding the taillight assembly onto the actual vehicle. So we're going to have to go ahead and remove these. Now, once we have the 3 Phillips head screws, we're going to want to rock our taillight assembly out of place, and we're going to want to gently pull away from the vehicle. Now keep in mind, there's going to be a couple alignment tabs up here, so we want to make sure we pull straight back, because if we pull too much at an angle, we'll snap the alignment tabs, which is what we don't want to do. So again, this isn't going to come out really easy. We're going to want to wiggle it back and forth to loosen everything up, and then we can sort of get a grip under the flange here. And once we can get a good grip under the taillight assembly here, we should be able to pull it off and you could hear it break free. Now keep in mind, we still have one wiring harness, so we need to disconnect here before we can actually remove the taillight assembly from the vehicle. Now I have found it easiest to take a flat blade screwdriver and sort of just stick it in here behind this connector, as you can see, to depress it. And now once we have this taillight assembly, we can go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to repeat the process for the other side. Now the next step, we're going to want to take our harness here, work our way to the driver's side of the vehicle, and pay attention to which pigtail we have. We're going to be looking for the one with the yellow wire, as this is for the driver's side. What we're going to want to do is just simply plug these 2 ends of the connectors together. We should again hear a lock in place once the tabs are secure. Here we hear it lock in place there. So now what we're going to want to do is just feed our wires down through the bumper here, through this little opening. Then we'll take the trailer connector and feed that through there as well. Now, once we get the bulk of the wires in here, we're going to get a good idea as to where we're going to actually secure the converter box, as well as what we can use for our grounding point. So as we see now, I think we are going to be able to mount the converter box and ground it maybe just behind the rear bumper here. So upon further inspection, and after test fitting our taillights, I'm actually going to mount the converter box right here on this panel here, because I checked the fitment and that looks to be the best location. Now as you can see here, the surface is pretty dirty. We're going to actually need to clean this in order to get our double-sided tape to stick. So we're basically just going to take some soapy water, solvent, whatever you really have on hand. Just give the area a nice clean wipe down. And once that dries, we can attach our converter box. Now, as you can see here, we actually have our converter box here zip tied to the factory wiring loom. And the reason we did this is we actually had a little bit of trouble of the converter box sticking to the vehicle with the included double-sided tape. So this was an alternate solution that we use that will work just as well. Now once we have our converter box secured, we're going to go ahead and take our white wire here, which is for the ground, as well as the self-tapping screw that was included with the kit. And we're going to want to ground this to the body right here. Now, in order to mount our taillight connector to the passenger side of the vehicle here and secure it under this bumper fascia, we have two more fasteners we need to remove. As you can see, one right here, which is removed with a Phillips head screwdriver, and there's one on the exact opposite side. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. And we can pull this up a little bit, and then as you can see, this is going to give us a little bit of room to mount our connector over there to the passenger side. Now before we take our passenger side connector and route it to the other side of the vehicle, we're going to want to take a piece of flexible hose. We're actually using an Airline here. And we want to go ahead and snake this behind the bumper in vehicle. That way when we attach it to our connector beneath, we can simply pull it up. So once we get under the vehicle here, there's going to be two wires we're going to have to pull down. We're going to have to pull down the bonded 4-wire for the trailer connector, as well as the green wire you see here, which goes to the passenger side. So what we're going to have to do is just reach up here as best we can and try to get a hold on the wire, and then gently sort of fish it down through the bumper area here. And now once we've got both of the wires down, we can go ahead and secure our green wire over to the passenger side of the vehicle, and I'll show you how to do that next. Now the best way to do this is to feed it up behind the bumper fascia here. You can set it aside, but we're going to need to secure this to some of the support in here so it's not moving around while we drive. Now we can take our zip ties, which are included in the kit for you, and just find some suitable places to secure off the green wire so it doesn't bounce around. We're going to use a bumper support right here for the first one. Now the next step, what we're going to do is take our Airline here, and we're actually going to tape this to our connector. That way when we come back up top, we can simply pull the Airline through and feed the connectors behind the body and the bumper. Now pay attention here, because we need to make sure we clear this exhaust pipe, and the green wire is as far away from this as possible. Now before we reinstall our taillights on the vehicle, remember we had two other fasteners here that hold the top of the bumper fascia to the vehicle that we need to reinstall, one on each side. Now once we have the T-connectors ran to both sides of the vehicles and we've plugged into the vehicle's wiring harness, we can go ahead and reinstall our taillights. Now keep in mind, we do have our converter box back here now, so things are going to be a little bit tighter, and you may just have to work with the taillights a little bit more. Now the final step of our installation here is we're going to mount our 4-way trailer connector. So as you can see here, we already have this fish down behind the bumper in the vehicle here. So what we're going to do is use the included dust cap, and we're going to secure that to the safety chain loops on our trailer hitch. And then what we want to do in order to secure the excess wire is we're going to come underneath here, and we are just going to simply use a couple of the zip ties included with our kit. And we're going to secure the bonded 4-wire to our hitch cross tube. Now as you can see here, we actually have our trailer connector mounted a little bit differently than we showed you before. That's because this customer is choosing for the more streamlined design using two brackets, which we both sell here at Etrailer.com. This is the 4-flat mounting bracket, and this is the no-drill short mounting bracket. Now don't forget, before we test our trailer lights, we need to reattach our negative battery cable to the battery. In order to do that, we're going to be using the same 10mm socket and ratchet we used before. So once that's down on there secure, just make sure we tighten her up and we get her pretty tight. And once we feel we get it nice and tight, go ahead and give it a good jiggle to make sure it doesn't come loose. That seems pretty good, so now we can shut our hood and test our trailer lights. Here's a left turn signal, the right turn signal, the brakes, and then our running lights. And now that we have everything installed and we've tested our trailer lights to make sure they're working properly, that's going to finish it up today for the Curt T-connector vehicle wiring harness on our 2012 Kia Soul.